Alright, so here is the 026 Keypunch I've got recently. As you can see, I've already taken most of the keyboard apart, and I started working on cleaning up the working surfaces of the card feed and punch area. So right now where I'm at is I took apart the keyboard to clean it out because the plate to hold all the keys shafts in place is rusted. It's surface rust though. It's nothing that can't be fixed. Likely what I'll do is paint it and then make sure all these little holes are cleaned out so that they don't have any paint to gunk up that working area. The only other thing I could think of doing would be to glue the surface somehow, because galvanizing this piece again would be quite difficult, and so is bluing, but I'm gonna have to do that for my teletype anyway. So I've got almost every key. I'm missing 3 keys. The letter A, the feed key, which is why I took the keyboard apart in the first place, mainly because without the feed key, it's difficult to diagnose the rest of the machine, because that's really where you want to start, is with feeding a card. So the shaft was also broken. The metal shaft was also broken off of the feed key, so I couldn't even just press the shaft down. So I'm going to have to move a shaft over to there for now from likely the A key, since I won't necessarily need that for testing. The other key I was missing was multi-punch, which there's a shaft for, so I'll keep that in there, and when I get to that, I'll get to that. Right now everything's still obviously dirty. I need to clean up the keys, the little rubber stoppers. They're not in the best condition, but they still seem to have a little bit of spring to them and a little bit of, they're not cracking or coming apart, so they should be fine. So here's the plate that the metal plate, this metal plate sits right on top of. And this is what holds all the keys in place and transfers each key press into a horizontal movement instead of a vertical. You can take this off, and these are all held on in place by shafts, so you don't have to worry about losing these, luckily. You have to worry about getting them all crammed together. And all the keys are held into the back by what I can only assume to be some kind of fishing line. It's just a clear little string that goes through, and all the bottoms of the keys, as you can see, there's a little hole in the bottom of the key, like the head of a needle. It threads through that hole so that the keys can't be pulled out of the keyboard, I presume. And then all these extra switches at the bottom are for different function keys. So I'll play this thing down. So the way I got this keyboard apart was you flipped it over. There was you want to take the fishing line out for all the keys, and that will allow for the keys to be freed once you get the rest of the mechanism apart. I'll have to include a visual guide of how to take apart the keyboard once I put it back together. Right now, I'm likely just going to clean off this surface, lightly coat it with WD-40 for now, since all my spray paint is in storage, since we're in the process of moving. So this, the WD-40 should keep it from rusting any further once I get the surface cleaner. The shafts on the mechanism over here are a little rusted. I'm just going to clean that up with a little wire brush and that should be fine. I don't think they'll need to be really painted or anything, as long as it's kept in a climate controlled area. Now, what I was working on this working surface up here, these go down here. You can see how dirty and grungy the rest of the system is. I'm working on bringing this all back to a nice shine with no dirt to be seen. I took off the Chad pickup to see how this surface is and see if this is clear of any obstructions or how rusted this plate is. It's had a bit of surface rust on it when I got it. It's all cleaning off nicely though. Be careful when you take this off. There's a spring down in here. When I lifted this off, luckily the spring just dropped right here, but if you're not careful, springs on this side, on the left side. You just, when you lift up that side, stick your finger under, make sure you hold this down, and that'll keep that spring in there. It's a tensioner so that feed the card through. So next I'm gonna see if I can get this plate off. I don't think I can because of the print head going down into it. So I may have to keep that down until I get the print mechanism off. So right now the machine does power up. I rewired the electrical cord since it was getting it was cracking and not doing too well. So it powers up. The belts seem okay. The tensioner for the one belt is just hanging. The spring for that tensioner is just hanging on the tensioner. I don't know where it connected. I see a screw underneath this large gear down here. I'm assuming that's where it connects to. I will have to look into that later. For now, it seems okay. So that's about where I'm at. I'll take the camera off the tripod and show you a bit more of the machine so you can get an idea of what kind of condition it's in. So, keyboard is in poor condition with the inner workings. Otherwise, it's alright. The program wheel's missing a star wheel, which shouldn't be too difficult to find a replacement and or make one. Otherwise, it's in a bit of a sad state, but that's the last thing to worry about. The metal plate that goes on here it's down below. But otherwise, it looks like it'll be repairable without too much hassle. So there was a relay pulled out here a guy had pulled out. He said it's probably because he detected something wrong with it. As far as I can tell, it looks like the contacts are a little gunked up, so it might be why. I've got to test the voltages on the power supply, see how they're doing. This capacitor back here is disconnected at one lead. It's obviously not even the original anyway. I'll have to test it, see if it's even any good, and replace it if it isn't. I did happen to find the little lock that's supposed to lock this into place down here. It's missing its pin, that's why it fell out. So that's nice. You can see how dirty and rusty most of this system is and was. But like I said, it's mostly all light surfaced rust, so it will be repairable. Otherwise, it's all right. There is some heavier rust on the main chassis, but that's all cosmetic at this point. I will likely try to get as much as I can out of the frame at some point, clean it up real well if I can find a replacement paint, and repaint the places that have the rust. But I'm wondering about replacement paint that has the same texture. But like I said, cosmetic, not an important step right now. So yeah, that's the Keypunch. I just thought I'd make this video to show what condition it's in, and what progress I have so far. Here is that idler I was talking about. It's just sort of hanging in the breeze there. Looks like I lost the spring now. I think it fell down in there. Yeah, there it is. It was just hanging behind it. So it's just spring hanging there. There is a screw up behind this gear though that it might have been attached to. Knocked over one of my containers. So yeah, I'm gonna continue working on cleaning up the keyboard and throw that back together and finish putting this back together and see if I can get a card to feed. So yeah, thanks for watching.